Let's take a look at the new all-age comic books for the week of August 24th, 2022. Hey, this is Trey with Daddy Mojo. How are you? Hey, so where do you find out your closest comic book store? It's actually pretty simple. Just cruise to this website, comicsshoplocator.com. I recall back in the day when we had just moved and we weren't sure where the closest shop to us was located, we went to this website. And it really hooked us up. This is inside North America. However, if you cruise outside North America too, boom, easy peasy, and there's one probably within 15 miles from you. Now, I was at a party the other night. Shockingly, I've escaped baby jail now that my children are in upper elementary school and middle school. And me and my wife and I, we went to a party, and we were just talking comic books with another dad. And doesn't have to be a dad. Could be a mom. Don't give me that look. We were just talking comic books with another parent, and we were talking where the store was, and they said, well, where do you find out what's new? And my local comic book shop produces a list every week. However, your shop may not do that, but they may pull books. And what you can determine what you want to look for is you cruise to this website. This is the best one that we like to go to. There are probably others. Previewsworld.com. They do a really great, concise job of showing what's new this week. The bugger is trying to cull through this list of maybe 110 books and figure what's going to be great for all age audiences. And that's why we do this, because parents, you're busy. I feel ya. Let's get started. Oh, I like this publisher. This is a niche publisher, Stone Arch Books. They publish early reader books. And they've got about 15 new releases this week. This is just one of them. Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries, The Cruise of Doom. It's loaded with art. It is loaded with simple sentences for kids to read and simple, short chapters. So if I'm going to say 2nd to 4th grade, it's not going to go much beyond 4th grade because the vocabulary is going to be pretty simple. However, those early readers who really dig action and superheroes, this is going to be their jam. And again, if you can't cruise to Previews World or you don't have a comic book store near you, just do a search online for Stone Arch Books right there. And you'll see any one of the properties that they've licensed, and it'll be great for grades. Let me say, if you read to the children, which you should, pre-K through 4. Go a little younger, but it's not sight word centric, but it's going to skew up to 4th grade. This is in every elementary school library in the world. My Little Pony. This is the new ongoing series. They reboot these every once in a while, and you adults are hip to this. They reboot it just so kids are like, oh, it's number 1, it's number 2, and for a while I was slightly sour on it because I'm an old school collector. However, those new school collectors, those younger kids, they want to latch on because if they see a property that's maybe, 26 to 350 issues in, they're thinking that they missed the golden boat. And that, wow, things were probably much better when it was issue number 4. So let me hop in here. To the point, My Little Pony issue number 4 is out this week. It's cute. Who's going to like it? Those girls, mainly girls in 2nd through 4th grade again. Some boys are going to like it, but they're going to be the exception. Those bronies out there, mainly for girls, My Little Pony, but it's a classic series, and it really is cute. Check it out. This one's going to, I'll call it the opposite of My Little Pony, because it skews mainly for boys, but again, those elementary school libraries, my goodness, this is great for them. Sonic the Hedgehog, issue number 52. It's loaded with action. It's got a little more reading than My Little Pony, so just be aware of that. And so to that end, it's going to skew slightly older, from 2nd through 5th grade. It's not going to make the leap to middle school libraries, but that's okay, because Jim Carrey's doing well, and the movies are surprisingly cute, aren't they? Really surprised by them. Sonic the Hedgehog, issue 52. Sometimes they do have story arcs happening within Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's from IDW Publishing. They do a great job with it. Don't be too intimidated if it's mid-storyline. It's not going to be too complex, and kids are going to be they'll be able to latch on quickly as to what's happening. It's not going to be that complex. Sonic the Hedgehog 52 out this week. This is a big week for comic books, for those kind of inside baseball folks, because Star Wars is changing publishers. Star Wars, the behemoth of sci-fi pop culturism, used to be on Marvel Comic Books. Actually, it used to be here. Used to be here on Dark Horse Comics. Then for about maybe, 6 to 7 years, it went over to Marvel Comics. And this week, it goes back to Dark Horse Comics. That's important because they've also got a new all-age comic book coming out regarding Star Wars Hyperspace Stories from Dark Horse Comics. Now, if you've been following the podcast for a couple of years, you may say, but I thought Star Wars had a great series on IDW Publishing. And they did. It was awesome. It was beautiful. However, with the licensing switcheroo, I guess so goes this. So we'll latch onto it and check it out this week because it's going to be great. Because if you check out the art from this, you'll realize that the art is it's realistic, but it's not rounded face baby realism that's going to turn off those elementary school kids that genuinely like the action that Star Wars offers, but they don't want a baby comic book. This is not going to be a baby comic book, but it's going to be for those cool elementary school readers and even those cool middle school readers that want to read a simpler Star Wars stories. Check out Hyperspace Stories and its ground floor. Look at that, number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. We got more Star Wars coming up in a minute also. On the opposite side of things, have you seen this show on, I think it's on Apple Plus? Paramount Plus, yeah. Oops. We have too many streaming services. We don't have either of them. So, we've been fans of Big Nate for, almost a decade. It is a great comic strip, and these collections are beautiful. However, I really can't warm up to the 3D roundedness of Big Nate as it is on the Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon show. I just can't get it. I've seen the trailers, and I get that that's animation. However, when we're still talking about a graphic novel, 6th grade Nate should be flat. I mean, whatever. Pancake Stanley or whatever that kid's name is. However, if your kids are digging the Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon show, or if you dig it and you never really understood how Nate could be flat and he was never really a cartoon character, he's always been kind of 3D like this, then this is your jam. It's Big Nate, Destined for Awesomeness. Andrews McMeel is the publisher behind this, and they publish all of Big Nate's collections of his comic strips, and they are great. They are a hoot. We collect them here just because it really, really captures middle school like few other comic strips do. It is great. Check this out. We're going to check it out anyway just because we love Big Nate, even though this new appearance kind of alarms me. Just a little bit. Another publisher that we really like is this one, Graphix. And we don't talk much about them because Graphix, they seem to have seasonal releases. And with school starting up across the land now, or has started up, Graphix is probably starting to crank out their books because they're owned by Scholastic. So, hey, there's a book fair. Hey, look, there are a bunch of graphic novels here. That's awesome. But this is actually probably one that's going to endear itself to upper elementary school kids because it's got kind of funny graphics. The kids who are age appropriate, and a Frankenstein kid. The Bailey school kids. Frankenstein doesn't plant petunias. It's funny, it's silly, and kids know Graphix, and they sure are going to know Scholastic. So it's going to be in book fairs across the land this fall, and they'll sell a lot of them. So don't be surprised, moms and dads, if you see this in there, because it's cute, it's dependable, and kids will like it and want to read it. The Bailey school kids. Aiming up just a little bit, so see how the art is different there? That is the difference in the subtle differences in a lot of graphic novels, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. Graphix Invisible. So this is definitely much more focused on middle school readers, because you're dealing with the cliques, about the 5 different cliques of people, the different personalities, as their personalities start to take shape in middle school. Who's your friend, who's not your friend, what do you like, what don't you like? Plus, it's going to have some Spanish dialogue in there, which is when a lot of North American school kids start learning a second language, mainly Spanish. It's going to be great for those kids. Some of you upper elementary school kids might dig it, but for the most part, this is going to be a graphic novel from Graphix that's going to hit those middle school kids. But if you've ever heard this podcast before, again, we love graphic novels as a way for kids to love, to learn to read, and to continue reading. Beautiful. So check this out if you're in middle school. Invisible. How can you be yourself when no one sees the real you? Meh. That's the question you'll keep asking yourself, kids. Invisible. I can't believe this book has been out for 40 years. 40 years of the modern classic Bunnicula. Our children's grandmother gave this to our oldest. Let him borrow it for a little bit, and we still have it in the house, even though we have to return it. This is the graphic novel of Bunnicula. What? 40 years of the Rabid Rabbit? Oh, I can't wait to read this one. Who's the publisher? Antheum. That's a tough one for me to say. Antheum Books for young readers. They also do a great job with some of their graphic novels and young reader books. If you've read Bunnicula and you love it, check this out. If you haven't read it because you're intimidated by the words or the chapter length, but you've seen your older siblings read it, check out the graphic novel, because kids, you'll love this. No bones about it. Fangs are you. Stephen Pastis. Oh, love this. Pearls Before Swine. The first book in Troubletown, in the Troubletown graphic novel series, was hilarious. For us, it was one of the best books of, I believe, 2021 when it came out, just last year. And it was interesting because it's a chapter form graphic novel that's longer than you think it is, but is also more intelligent than you think it is, because it makes young readers really hold on to the story. And that's a lot to kind of fathom, because if you think about a graphic novel that has coherent stories, but is also entirely weird and very creative and utterly hilarious for middle school ages and up, that is what this is. It's a bit of the wisdom behind Pearls Before Swine and Timmy Failure. Timmy Failure, those high school kids will recognize from the series about 8 years ago. Great. Of course, you adults will know Pearls Before Swine. This is a melding of the two, and it's great. We haven't even read this. Full disclosure, I haven't read it. Just based upon the first one, Troubletown from last year, one of the best books of last year that we read. And we read a lot of books. Crazy amount of books. But yeah, check this out. If you like graphic novels, if you like funny things, if you like just weird things, check out Troubletown. Book number 2 in the series. We love this publisher. We've spoken about them before. Their books come out, not dependably. When they come out, they come out. That's such a crazy way to say that, because they're not, unlike Scholastic, they don't seem to be driven by the school calendar. So first, second books will put out books pretty dependably throughout the year. Science Comics is their imprint that takes a look at a STEM thing. Could be bats, could be insects, could be electric cars, could be batteries, solar power, anything. We love all of these books because they take what could be a complex and very confusing subject, but they make it interesting for kids and up. And I'm going to say middle school and up, because even though you elementary school readers could dig into Science Comics Bridges and say, I can read all the words, you may not enjoy it as much. It's you middle school readers that'll pick up Science Comics Bridges, engineering masterpieces, and say, okay, I love the art. But then you'll read it and discover, hey, there's also a cool story about how bridges have evolved over time. And here's why it was such an engineering masterpiece and why we should still celebrate them today. So check this out if you're in middle school and up and you like graphic novels and you like STEM, or if you like either one of the two and haven't merged the two together in your head yet. This is beautiful for you, Science Comics Bridges. engineering masterpieces. Again from First Second. They really put out some really sweet books. This one's going to skew a bit more for the sports kids and a little bit younger. Fifth Quarter, Hardcourt. It's a graphic novel. If you've got a sports-centric kid, or if you are a sports-centric kid, and you're in upper elementary through middle school, check out the Fifth Quarter, Hardcourt. Graphic novels like this do a great job of blending the two. And there's a sports author whose name completely escapes me that does the inverse of this, except he does it with words. Fred Bowen. That's his name, Fred Bowen. Previously, I never really latched onto sports books, but Bowen manages to make it in... He crafts the stories in a very concise manner that makes people who aren't really sports kids interested in the story. This one, The Fifth Quarter, Hardcourt by Mike Dawson, is going to skew the other way. It's graphic novel oriented because it's a graphic novel, obviously, but it's going to be more for those reluctant readers who like sports but maybe don't like to read. Hey, look at that soft sell in it. Good job, Dawson. Check it out this week from First Second Books. We highlight lots of publishers, and this week there's not really anything from DC Comics. DC Comics, we love you, brother. We do. But just taking a look at all your stuff this week, it says, you know what? It's not going to be really great for those elementary school kids. Or even those middle school kids to an extent. Some of this is going to be middle school okay, but for the most part, no. DC Comics, love you. Hook in some more all-age comics, why don't you? Now, we mentioned Star Wars. Remember what I said? Marvel Comics is leaving the Star Wars universe, for better or worse. I'm not really sure why. So this is probably the last one from Darth Vader on Star Wars, Marvel Comics. And that's going to be kind of a bummer because if you've been following Darth Vader, maybe you're like, wow, it's moving. It's out of here. Look at that. But the art's okay, you know. A lot of comic folks think that IDW did a better job creatively with Star Wars than Marvel has done. Marvel just had more of a push because of their marketing presence. Call it what you will. Darth Vader is on the way out, going the way of the dodo in Marvel Comics. Get it while you can. This creator, he's Matthew Reinhart. Matthew Reinhart is a pop-up book wizard, and everybody knows their niche. Matthew Reinhart produces the most amazing pop-up books. In my office right now, I have 6 or 7 pop-up books from Matthew Reinhart because they're so intricate. It's not the kind of pop-up book that I grew up with, and it's probably not the kind of pop-up book that you grew up with. When you open up a Matthew Reinhart pop-up book, you'll get a couple pages that pop up maybe 3 to 4 folds. Maybe like you open up a page and, oh, that one pop-out element then pops out 3 to 4 more times. Yippee-ki-yay, look at you. However, Reinhardt's books are an engineering feat. If you thought folding maps in the car in the 70s was a pain in the tuchus, try to open up one of Matthew Reinhardt's books and have it fold back the way it did when you opened it. And that should be frustrating, but it's not, because the images and the construction and everything about his books are so beautiful that you can't help but love them. This is Stranger Things. Oh yeah, he's done. Oh, he's been to Star Wars. He's done dinosaurs, sharks. He's done love. What else has he done? He's done, Star Wars is up there. Harry Potter, he's done Harry Potter. So it only makes sense that he goes to Stranger Things. It's expensive. Look at that price, $75. You say, why would I ever pay $75 for a book? This book is less of a book and more of an experience, because you open it and it's immersive, it's beautiful, but it's obviously for the fans based on that price point. This is not the kind of pop-up book you're going to get for an elementary school and say, hey kids, here's a pop-up book. This is not that kind of book. Yeah, this is one for the fans and those engineers, those book nerds. I'm a book nerd. I feel you. This is beautiful. It's the ultimate pop-up book. Stranger Things from Matthew Reinhart, Kyle Lambert, and Simon Arizpe. Illustrations, colors, beautiful. Can't wait to look at that. Spoiler alert, sometimes you can find books like this in Costco for less than that price. Yippee-ki-yay. Also, this week from Marvel Comics, I am enjoying this tentpole summer series. Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day, basically a big bad, is coming from outside the universe to smash the Earth. This is the big bad. Obviously big, physically huge, about 100 times the size of any Avenger. I just hope they don't... I hope it's not a bait and switch thing. I've mentioned that before. I hope it's not like we dreamed the entire thing and Tony Stark is now awake and it was a dream. The art is gorgeous. If you're looking for a very fun kind of tentpole series this summer that says, I want something new, check it out. Avengers, X-Men, Eternals is colloquially called Axe. Judgment Day. Also this week, Spider-Man. We're really enjoying this series now. Spider-Man 8, Amazing Spider-Man. Got a new costume, got some new accessories, a little goblin-esque. Is that a glider? What's going on? It's so hard to dislike any of this story. We've been deep in this series for 12 years now, and it's really good. There are peaks and valleys, but jump into it. And it's going to be great for those kids who were in upper elementary school all the way through middle school and even through middle-agedom and above. It's the Amazing Spider-Man number 8 out this week. So what are you reading, people? Anything fun? If it's cool, let us know, please. At Daddy Mojo. You can also email us. Trey, Trey, @daddymojo.net.